Well, the U.S. is heading for a bold departure from a key international agreement. The Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty played a major role in ending the Cold War, eliminating thousands of weapons and stopping a dangerous nuclear arms race. But now the U.S. president and other world leaders are pointing the finger at Russia for violating the pact. We get more now from Dominic Velitis in London.
Well, the US has accused Russia of violating the INF Treaty for quite a few years now. President Obama did so back in 2014 after Moscow allegedly tested a ground-launched cruise missile. But unlike Trump, Obama chose not to withdraw from the agreement after European concerns that doing so could lead to an arms race. But certainly Trump has now announced his intention to pull the US out of the INF Treaty, which when signed back in 1987, effectively banned ground-launched medium-range missiles. But for Washington, this is not just about Russia. It's also about China. Beijing is not a signatory to the INF Treaty and has been building medium-range missiles without restraint, while at the same time expanding its military presence in the Western Pacific. And Trump has now threatened to develop similar weapons unless both Russia and China agree to stop developing this type of missile. There has been plenty of reaction to Trump's announcement this morning. We've heard from Mikhail Gorbachev, who, along with the then US President Ronald Reagan, signed the INF Treaty back in 1987. He's described the US plan to abandon the agreement as very strange, adding it would be a mistake and would undermine the work done by the US and former Soviet Union to end the Cold War arms race. Russia's Deputy Foreign Minister, meanwhile, Sergei Rybkov, went further, saying that US withdrawal would be a very dangerous step. Some support for the US, though, from the United Kingdom. The country's Defence Secretary Gavin Williamson said earlier that Britain stood by the US's decision, adding that Russia is to blame and that Moscow needs to get its house in order. Meanwhile, the Kremlin said this morning that it is now seeking an explanation for Trump's plan to quit the INF Treaty. It's likely they'll get that later this week because US National Security Advisor John Bolton is due in Moscow for talks.